Now you mentioned the plethysmograph. Describe what happened with that.
So, how many you got my thoughts here? My attorney fought that, and she was advised to not fight it because if she was
This is the Cordell and Cordell attorney?
right,
Okay, she
was
fighting
appalled. At first, she didn't even know what it was.
it. And most people don't.
Yeah, and then when she found out what it was, she was blown away that they could do that to me.
So what exactly is a plethysmograph? Because most people have no clue what this is.
It is where they take you in a room and it's typically for child abusers before they release them out of prison.
For sex offenders?
Sex offenders,
Right.
to make sure that they are safe to send back out into society, which is, I mean,
Well, that actually the interesting thing about this plethysmograph stuff. It was developed by I think it was a Czechoslovakia, like in the 1950s. It's been tested. It's not scientifically valid. The results are all over the place. I think they've said it's about 32% accurate. So, but this is what they did. They used this test on you. Did they order it, or did you request it, or
it was court ordered.
Court ordered by the same judge that you're going to be going in front of again? Okay.
Yeah.
So describe the plethysmograph, because I think most people are going to be absolutely shocked when they know the details.
I went into an office and there was a woman there. I don't know what her credentials were. Maybe she was a PA, no idea. And I told her, I'm concerned about this because you're a young guy, healthy, functional. I don't know what kind of response you'll get. I'm afraid if you put something in front of me and get thrown the test off.
So when you say throwing something in front of you, what are they throwing in front of you?
She told me, I am not going to show you pornography.
But
I don't know what her standard of porn is, because that was porn. So obviously they need to test to make sure you're not attracted to children.
So wait a minute then. I'm guessing then they showed you kiddie porn?
No, they cannot legally.
Right, but that doesn't make
Thank
any.
goodness.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I had to. Let me back up. I was in her office and she sent me into the bathroom. I had to measure the circumference of my penis, come back to her office and give it to her. She picked a rubber band, went in the room, into the test room. She showed me what the chair was. The band went on a wire. She explained to me what to do, and she left the room. She was on the other side of the wall in another room, put a headset on. I had to take off my pants, and I put the rubber band around my penis, which was attached to a wired computer that she was looking at. And then she hit play, and I had to listen to child rape narratives. It was disgusting. And after that, they had to determine, they were clearly able to determine that I was not sexually aroused because they did not get erection out of me. And then from there, they showed me naked men, lots of homosexual, to me, homosexual porn. Nothing was video, it was all photos, but it was mixed up too. It would go back to child rape narratives just to see if they could throw me off. They didn't get a response out of me at all. And she clearly told me, you need to hope we need to get a response out of you because either we determine the test becomes conclusive, or we determine you have ED and we have to continue to do it until we get a response. And so finally, of course, we can get around to, women, and they were able to get a sexual response out of me, determined that I was a heterosexual male and I was not a threat to a child. All this treating me guilty until proven innocent based on false accusations from my ex-wife. And I can tell you right now, bet you my paycheck that if I came up with false accusation about her, they wouldn't put her through that.
Oh no, of course not. This is only because...
They're not going to take a device, stick it inside her,
Yeah.
and determine what's going on.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that.
Yeah, I doubt that they would do it with some of these female teachers that are having sex with teenage kids in the school.
Yeah, they're not going to do that.
Yeah. The narrative has to be that because you are a man, either you are abusive or dangerous or sexually perverted, and the accusation becomes the guilt that you have to somehow prove yourself innocent of. What you're talking about here, a judge ordering this to a person that is a father of a child who's trying to see that his child, trying to stop his ex-wife from kidnapping the child. This is horrendous. It's despicable, it's tyrannical, and it happens in the state of Texas. Now, I don't know how frequently it happens. Do you have any clue about that?
I don't know.
I've heard about this test. I've heard about people, and I thought, there are things that you hear that you say there's no possible way. I mean, you know that there's a possible way. But like you said, this is what they do for sex offenders.
Right.
And
now they're doing it to fathers.
They're doing it to fathers.
Who are innocent.
I looked at something about this because sex offenders, there was a case, the U.S. versus Weber in 2006. It is a court ruled that the procedure was intrusive and a deprivation of liberty for sex offenders. This is what the court ruled. It was intrusive and a deprivation of liberty for sex offenders, so the sex offender that he was defending did not have to go through it. They're ordering this test for fathers. The judges in these family-friendly divorce courts, these family judges are ordering this type of, I don't even know, despicable tests for fathers. One judge who ruled on this, he compared it to something out of George Orwell's 1984. Some of the people have said it's rarely used. Some people have said it's very commonly used. But what you were talking about, it being manipulative, it is manipulative. It has very low accuracy. As I mentioned, from what I saw, it was developed by some guy in Czechoslovakia. And the reason it was developed at that time is because at the time, homosexual behavior was outlawed. Now, he did not agree that it should be a crime, but it was a test designed to see whether a person, if I understand it correctly, had these homosexual inclinations. And the accuracy rate was so low that it's not valid for anything. I think I said it was 30%.
I've heard a lot of mixed numbers, but I don't think the issue is how accurate it is.
Yeah.
It's a constitutional violation.
Well, it's not just that, it is unethical. It is
Absolutely.
completely unethical. I mean,
And
basically...
I was told that I could fight it, but it would take many years and I wouldn't see my son during that time.
Yeah. So they are basically what it came down to. The state of Texas, this person who was there to monitor you, was showing you homosexual pornography
Yes.
and reading you child rape narratives.
Well, they were audio, so she wasn't reading.
Oh, she wasn't reading.
She wasn't reading it. She would hit play on the computer and they have an audio file, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I listened to that.
So I'm sure that most people have never heard about this. Do you think the Attorney General of the state of Texas knows that this goes on?
I can't imagine that he doesn't.
What about the governor? Because the governor used to be the Attorney General. Do you think he knows that it goes on? He used to be a Supreme Court justice.
That he didn't.
So this is the kind of stuff that is going on in these family-friendly family courts. When I heard about the things that had happened to you, I mean, I don't know how, do you ever talk about this, or do you just, because a lot of guys would say this is so embarrassing, so humiliating.
There are only three people that I've talked to about this.
Do your parents know?
No.
So why are you opening up about it right now?
Because it's going to happen to somebody else.
It's going to happen.
It's happening to somebody else right now.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's going to happen to somebody else tomorrow
yeah.
and next week. It's not going to stop. And they're going to keep dragging men down.
Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with Stephen Baskerville, but he's talked a lot about this in the past. The first time I heard about this was actually at a summit I was at with him. And he was talking about how divorce courts, no-fault divorce, unilateral divorce, actually any type of family courts, deprive people of their constitutional rights, of their liberty. You can be a wonderful father one moment, your wife files for divorce, and you file for divorce, and all of a sudden now you become a suspect of child abuse.
Absolutely.
Or child molestation. So basically, for no reason, you're now guilty, and you have to prove your innocence. And I'm horrified, and I think everybody else here will be horrified, that this happens in Texas. And as you said, I would assume very well that the governor knows that this is going on, and that the governor has been silent about the entire thing. And let me take a little bit of a detour from this. Because of these mass shootings that take place, I've watched many of the politicians. They talk about, well, it's video games. Video games probably have a part in it. They've talked about, well, the guy's a monster. Well, perhaps, but who created the monster? You know, often it's the family courts that help to create this monster. Go ahead.
If you push anybody far enough, they'll become a monster.
And see, this is what I think about this whole thing. I am surprised how few monsters there are.
I agree.
I mean,
They're
they're
very fortunate things are as calm as they are.
right. But what I've also been finding too with some of the people that I've talked with, rather than go on a mass shooting rampage, you have men shooting themselves, committing suicide because of our family courts, the family-friendly courts.
That court ordered my sexual abuse.
They did, absolutely.
It was court-ordered sexual abuse against me.
Yeah, it was, absolutely.
And it was my son that was on the line.
Yeah, yeah.